Hi class, this is your teacher Fran here. I always like to give you a few videos throughout the quarter because sometimes it feels so faceless to go through the whole quarter without talking to any of you. So hello, just wanted to say hi. You can see my messy house in the background, so hopefully that won't be too big of a distraction. But yeah, anyway, welcome. We've been working for a quarter of the quarter already, and I've really enjoyed reading your papers so far, and I just had a few points I wanted to touch upon with you that hopefully will help you as we continue this term. The first one, I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Silver Linings Playbook, which I just watched last night, but it was funny because it very tangentially touched upon this. But first thing I want to assure you is that you don't have some dark and twisted teacher that's making you read all of this dark and depressing literature. That just tends to be how classic literature is. So sometimes students get a little bit unsettled because there's so many bad endings in our stories. It's like a rarity to have any bit of a positive ending. So I just wanted to let you know that it's not by my choice. I'm a very happy, positive person, but I do want you to think about why it is that classic literature tends to be on the sad side. And I'm actually going to open up an extra credit discussion forum on that, so feel free to lend your 2 cents and see what your classmates have to say. But anyway, I just laughed because I was watching the movie last night, and the main character throws a book out a glass window because he was so mad about the unhappy ending. But anyway, let's think about why classic literature tends to be depressing. Anyway, that aside, I want to make sure everybody's clear on the discussion requirements. Because it seems like I haven't had as full participation as I would be hoping. So basically, there's a couple different ways I award points each week for participating in the discussion forums. The first thing that I do is I check to make sure that you responded to one of my questions, one of my initial questions from the stories. If you do that for each story, you get 10 points for each story. And later on in the quarter, when we start reading Heart of Darkness and Doubt, I think you get more than that. But anyway, for an initial response to a question that I've asked, you get 10 points for each story. And then I also each week award a participation grade. And basically, it's to encourage you to be reading and responding to your classmates' posts. So, because I kind of weigh in at the end of each week, I like you to guide the discussion, and I kind of add my 2 cents at the end. But basically, what I'm looking for in these first few weeks, it becomes less once we only are reading one story, but you need to be making an additional 4 responses total. They can be scattered throughout the stories that we read. Like if there's 2 stories, it could be 2 responses in one and 2 responses in the other. But anyway, 2 additional responses that are responses to your classmates' posts. So, and that's worth 20 points every week. So each one, you need to have 4. Each one is in effect worth 5 points. So if you answer initially to each story, you'll get points for that. And then you also need to do 4 responses to your fellow students, classmates, total. Not for each story, but total, spread out through the stories. You could do it all on one story and not do any on the other, or you could do as many as you want on each. But anyway, just so that we have that clear. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, and this class you guys have been doing really great with this, but basically, I've found through the course of teaching this class, and I've done it for over 5 years now, and pretty much every quarter I teach 101, and pretty much every quarter I teach it online. So I have a lot of experience, and I've seen that students tend to thrive, most students thrive, when we emphasize structure in an essay. There's basically certain components of an essay that make sense that you need to have. Just like any sort of argument, you need to include certain things to make an argument make sense. So in the modules, I outline for each part, for an introduction, for a body paragraph, which is the same as an assertion paragraph, I outline what elements, it's like a recipe, what you need to have in those paragraphs. So as you go to write your essay, especially you go to write essay 1, I know you've worked on your introductions already, but as you go to write essay 1, just really keep that in mind, that the format that I outline for introductions and the format I outline for assertion paragraphs, which is the same as a body paragraph, is really to make sure you have the recipe for success for writing a literary analysis. I start off with the first essay of being very specific of what I want you to have in each paragraph, each body paragraph. So you're picking a character from one of the stories that we've read, and you need to think, did he or she learn his lesson or not, his or her lesson or not? Okay. Once you've determined that, your first body paragraph is supposed to be focusing on what that character's initial state was in the initial part of the story in relation to that lesson. And just like an assertion paragraph, you need 2 pieces of evidence to prove that point. And then the second body paragraph you need to be proving what the turning point is. When was the chance for the character to learn his or her lesson? Okay, this can be tricky because sometimes the paper can devolve into writing a summary of the story, but really focus that middle paragraph on when he or she had a chance to learn a lesson. And then finally, the third body paragraph is going to focus on if he or she learned his or her lesson or not. So sometimes people get body paragraph 2 and 3 confused, but basically prove to me for body paragraph 2 how this chance was actually his or her opportunity to learn a lesson. And then the third body paragraph is proving to me if he or she learned his or her lesson. So it's pretty strict, but then I back off that strictness as the essays go on. You have a lot more freedom, but in what the content is, but I still will expect the same sort of structure within. So anyway, feel free to pop me a message if you have a question. I look at your introductions pretty carefully because then it can kind of give me an idea if you're on track. The last thing that I wanted to let you know is for response 2, if you did it, you're going to get full credit. Usually I pick 2 of them to grade carefully and 2 of them to give you credit, so you'll be getting 25 points if you did that one. And if you did essay 1, you saw that you got a lot more careful feedback on that. So anyway, I'm always available to answer questions. Hopefully I'm going to be online for some office hours. I have to check to see if they granted those for me. And then, yeah, if you got to the end of this message, pop me a private message letting me know that you got to the end, and I'll give you some extra credit. So best of luck in your work, and I look forward to reading your essays.